Today I'll be giving you guys some ideas for Football Manager 23 saves that you can get your teeth stuck into. We've got lower division teams trying to reach the pinnacle of football. We've got teams that are trying to compete with a larger rival within the same city. We've got a lot to get into, so I won't waste any time. Let's get into the first team in today's video. And we're going to start off with the easier challenges and slowly look to the harder ones within this list. We've already made a few videos before on teams to manage in FM23, but we've got even more ideas today, and the first one is Torino. Now, this is an interesting save in itself, of course, taking over a team in Serie A, not necessarily known for winning the league title in recent years, despite an illustrious history that we'll look at in a second. However, they are competing with Juventus to be the biggest club in their city of Turin. Whilst Juve have seemingly fell behind Inter and AC Milan, they're still a team that will take a lot to topple in terms of an intercity rivalry, but that'll be your job as Torino manager. And if you're thinking, Torino can't have that much of a history, right? You'd be wrong. I mean, they've won the league title 7 times. I mean, in the 1940s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 titles in that period alone. The last time they won the league title was in 1976. They were runners-up in the Europa League equivalent back in 1992, and they've won a fair few Italian cups. Your squad's going to look a little different to Torino's of the past, with Bremer leaving for the rivals Juventus and Andrea Bellotti leaving the club as well, who is of course big boots to fill. He was one of the most iconic players at Torino over the last 5 or so years, so it's time for you to bring through your next crop of players and maybe even get some European glory. Stepping up the difficulty a little bit, but certainly still an achievable feat, will be to take over Burnley and bring them back to the Premier League, and not only that, to win the Premier League title. Don't get me wrong, this won't be easy, but there is a twist on this one. Before we do though, don't forget to like the video if you do enjoy and subscribe for more, and let us know in the comments who you'll be managing in FM23, and if you want to as well, you can check out my channel, linked in the description. We're going to be running a Leicester City save on there when FM23 comes out, so subscribe ahead of that. Hopefully you guys will all love it, and I'm very much looking forward to it. We're trying to get 10,000 subscribers, and we are getting pretty close now, so any support will be massively appreciated. But as mentioned, this save isn't just about winning the league with Burnley. Getting to the Premier League is probably expected, but we're going to try and change the expectations and the brand of football, let's say, that Burnley play. Under Vincent Kompany in real life, they are starting to do this, but as we all know, Burnley were under a bit of a label in British football. People often referred to them as Brexit Burnley, basically. They had an English manager. Their squad was focused on defensive football, often playing long balls with a British core of usually older players too. And if you weren't a Burnley fan, it wasn't always the most exciting thing to watch. That's not to say that it wasn't effective, because under the circumstances and the financial restraint that Sean Dyche seemed to have on him in the Premier League, they still did very well. But your job will be to completely change the philosophy of Burnley. You'll be signing players only under the age of 25, bringing in overseas wonderkids and playing exciting football. It's going to be a new era at Burnley under your management, and the hope is you can pick up some trophies along the way. They have actually won the Premier League back in the 1960s and also in 1921. To be honest, I didn't know that until I look now. Obviously, it wasn't the Premier League then, but still the first division in England. They were runners-up only a couple years after that win. They won the FA Cup back in 1914, so it's been a long time since Burnley have had some Premier League success, or top division success, should we say. They've lost some core players as well. As far as championship saves go, Burnley could be a very interesting one. Before I did record this video, I was researching over the internet of different teams to manage, and a lot of people were suggesting that Scotland is hugely underrated in Football Manager. It's not a place I've managed in the past, but it's certainly quite appealing, particularly if you pick one of the teams outside of the traditional old firm of Celtic and Rangers. You could go for Aberdeen, you could go for Hibs, amongst many other clubs, even teams in lower divisions as well. But the idea with all of these Scottish teams will be to try and overthrow those top two, and at the same time develop Scotland as a nation. They've started to go up in the European coefficients as well now, and whilst building up your Scottish club, at the same time you'll be wanting to see the Scottish League grow, so they start getting more Champions League spots, more European places. Now there's levels to this challenge. One would be trying to overthrow that old firm double of Celtic and Rangers. Then you can try and maybe win some European glory, but it gets better than that My idea with a Scottish save will be to keep developing the nation and the leagues of Scotland. It might take a long time, but until the point where England is overtaken by Scotland in the league coefficients, it will take a very, very long time. You'd need consistent success. It could be great fun, but if you don't want to go all the way into that detail, there's certainly still a lot of joy to be had in just trying to manage and compete with the big two in Scotland. Hibernian haven't had much success in terms of league titles since the 1950s, the early 1950s that is. On top of that, if we look at the previous winners of the Scottish First Division, you'll see it's pretty much always been Celtic and Rangers. It looks like the last time that wasn't the case was in the 1980s with Aberdeen. I might be completely wrong, but that could have been during the Alex Ferguson period. Like I say, probably am wrong, but it's been a long time since anyone other than Celtic and Rangers have won the league. So that's your job, to overthrow those and hopefully take Scotland as far as possible, and I think Hibs would be a great choice in that respect. Another save that I love the idea of is taking over Santa Clara or one of the other island teams in Portugal. I believe there's Maritimo and one other that I can't remember off the top of my head. I read about this on Reddit and I thought it's a great idea. Someone gave a brilliant explanation of why Portugal is so fun to manage in, and it's why I'm suggesting it here. The Portuguese Premier League is dominated by the big three over there, Porto, Sporting and Benfica, and then outside of them you've got Braga, who are still on like 50% of the wages that any of those big three have, and then it's an even bigger hike to any other team in the league, and there's such a huge disproportion within one league between the clubs in that first division. That's not to say there aren't big clubs with fan bases outside of those big four, but the finances are completely different for pretty much everyone else. So depending on the level of challenge you want, you could manage any team, whether that be in the first division of Portugal or the second or the third division. But for me, I do think Santa Clara will be great fun. Because they are an island off the coast of Portugal, this person on Reddit mentioned the idea that you'd be making this island a fortress, where anyone, whether they be Portuguese teams or teams from across the world when you get into Europe, will have to come on your little island to come and play football. They've only got 300 season ticket holders apparently. They're not a tiny club, but compared to those big boys at the top in Portugal, it's going to be a huge challenge to overthrow them. And not only that, but to hopefully get some European glory too. You can see there isn't too much glory in the past of Santa Clara. It's also quite easy to sign Wonderkids in the nation of Portugal. There's not too much going on in terms of rules and regulations stopping it happening, so they would be a great choice, and I think Santa Clara would be a hell of a lot of fun. 3 more save ideas to go now, and make sure you do stick around for the last one because I do think it's my favourite of the bunch, but that's no disrespect to any of the other ideas. And for this one, we are going with Dynamo Dresden in the 3rd division of Germany. Now there's actually a few choices you can pick from here in terms of this save idea, and what we'll be looking to do in these saves is to take an East German side to the Bundesliga title. Believe it or not, it's never happened before. Of course, Germany used to be split between the East and the West, and the teams from the East have never won a Bundesliga title. There's popular ones such as Magdeburg that you can do, but Dresden for me is my pick this year. Is it just because they've got yellow icons and a cool badge? Maybe, but it's also because they've got great facilities for their level, a pretty good reputation, really good training facilities as well. They're a club that's been around for years but have never really had any major success, no top division honours, not even second division honours, so that would be your aim, to take Dresden up the league or your choice of East German side and get them to win the Bundesliga. It'll be a real challenge in a league that's dominated by Bayern Munich, but it can be done, and I think it's one that a lot of people will try in FM23. A lot of people were shocked Wrexham haven't been in the video yet in terms of our FM23 save ideas. Well, here they are. Of course, the challenge with Wrexham is to take this side in the Vanarama National League all the way to Premier League glory. The twist with Wrexham is that they're managed by 2 celebrity owners, Ryan and Rob, Ryan being Ryan Reynolds. So if you've ever fancied having Deadpool as your owner, give it a go. And this was obviously a thing last year as well, but it's been made even more appetizing for FM23 by the fact that they had a series on them. They had a series about Wrexham, about taking this club and their plans for the future, and they seem to have really big ambitions, Ryan and Rob, of having this team one day going up the divisions, and that'll be your job, to be their manager of choice and try and take them to the Premier League. You can see here Ryan Reynolds is a chairperson, Rob McElhenney is the director, adds a little bit of extra fun. Obviously all eyes will be on Wrexham as they become a global brand, and you will be leading that charge up to the Premier League. Of course they're a Welsh club in the English divisions as well, which adds an extra layer of fun to it to try and make this Welsh club the best side in England. I'm sure a lot of you you have already got this one planned for FM23, but my last one is a wildcard pick that I don't think many people will be doing, but I think it'll be great fun, and it's one I'm very much tempted to try as a YouTube series after my Leicester series on my channel, which again you can find linked in the description below. And for this one, we're going over to Iceland. Iceland is a nation that you probably haven't managed in before. They've got a super small population and they don't have many well-known recognised teams. Your job will be to make that change. You want to take over a team in Iceland and make them not only in the European competitions, but win the Champions League with an Icelandic side. It will be a very tough challenge, but at the same time, you'll be developing the nation of Iceland, which you can manage simultaneously and try and take them to glory with all of the youth players you produce. And as you make the league better, you'll find more Icelandic gems coming through to help your national side. Now, which team are we going to manage? Well, this is purely based on the name of when I looked at all the clubs in Iceland. I've got to go for this team, Vikingur. I don't know how you pronounce that first part of the name. I'm not even going to try. Sometimes I do try my pronunciations on here, but that one is very, very tough to do. They haven't won a top division since the 1990s, so your job will be to change that. They are one of the major clubs in Iceland, at least based on Football Manager here. I don't have too much knowledge of the region myself. Let me know if you do. And even though they are one of the largest sides, you can see their facilities here, their season ticket holders. It's not great. When you compare it to the third division side in Germany that we looked at earlier, it really shows the difference and how hard it's going to be to take this team to glory. Even when you've got a place in Champions League qualifying, it's a long way off before you'll be in the group stage, and even then you want to do that on a consistent basis to build up the nation. I think it's going to be a 10+ year job as you try and win the Champions League with an Icelandic team. I think it'll be great fun. I'm really excited to try it, so let me know if that's something you'd like to give a go to. You can do this in a variety of small nations where you try and build the nation up as well as a club, but when you've got an Icelandic club called Vikingur, you've kind of got to go for it, right? I'm confirming this now for the first time, but I'm definitely going to do this as a save, either in my own time or on my channel. I just think it'll be such a good challenge that I can't wait to give that a go. But that's the end of today's FM23 saves video, guys. There's going to be more to come, so keep your eyes peeled. We're actually going to do one outside of Europe soon. I'm just waiting on the finalised list. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're going to have a lot of FM23 content coming when the game drops. All the Wonderkids, all the tactics, all the tutorials, it's not to be missed, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.